welcome to the weekly water outlook. Last week there were a few spots that received some significant rainfall, primarily the Pacific Northwest, but still the big story across the nation remains drought. About 52% of the country is in either moderate or more severe drought at this time. We've been in a quiet pattern for the most part, and that looks like that will continue for much of the nation. Keep tuned. Let's start off today's briefing by taking a look at how much rain fell over the nation last week. I think only two things really stand out. First of all, we have such a large area of the country that received no rain whatsoever. That area of outline received no rain over the last week. The second feature that I mentioned that I'd like to show out is the significant rainfall that fell over the far part of the Pacific Northwest. Red is 5 inches or more, and I see a little dot of purple that's nearing 10 inches. And those are two trend alerts I issued for the heavier rain over the Pacific Northwest and the dry conditions over parts of the Southwest U.S. So those are the two main things that we've seen last week as far as rainfall trends. And if we look at percent of normal rainfall, you can see red is well below normal rainfall. In fact, with no rain whatsoever, that would be 0% of normal rainfall. And then over the Pacific Northwest, what we see there is 2 to 4 times normal rainfall for the week. Sort of interesting here is the California-Oregon border, how abrupt it is. It goes from 0% of normal rainfall up to maybe 400 to even higher percent, 500, 600%, 6 times normal rainfall over a very small area right in that region. If we look at the number of days since there's been a rain day, we see just areas of blue which have been anywhere from 0 up to 20 inches without rain. And this gives you some idea. If you look at the darker browns and the blue, the overall areas that have been active from rainfall are not active. And it shows the Ohio Valley and the Northeast U.S. and the Pacific Northwest have been active regions, and the southern and the southwest U.S. has been very inactive as far as precipitation. Green is, I'd say, about normal. So this gives you some of the idea of some of the hot spots of where soil moisture has been improving, which has been the blue spots, and where maybe the drought impacts have been increasing, which is the areas in brown. Speaking of the drought, here's the latest drought monitor. Not a lot of change. We've been eroding some of the drought over Missouri and Illinois. That started with Isaac, and that continues in that region, as well as eastern parts of Arkansas, some improvement. Very little change over the southeast U.S., very little change over the heart of the nation, and we see in Texas not a lot of change over the last week as well. Now, I want to bring your attention to the tropics. It's very late in the season, but the Caribbean is experiencing above normal sea surface temperatures, so there is a high probability of development, and that's that area in red. And we're going to have to sort of keep an eye on where that might go. I think there's a lot of uncertainty right now, but I'd like to point out two options. One option here is continuing to the west, and that is what it's expected to do, at least for the next couple days. But the systems that are going to be really dominating it, driving on where it goes, will be this area of high pressure here and this area of high pressure. And another option is some of that tropical moisture could sort of pull between them and eventually perhaps get up into interact with the system over the northeast U.S. And it's way early. I don't want to get too excited about this yet because that can change, but some of the models are hinting at that being a possibility. Now, the big picture, for the last couple weeks, the jet stream has been changing as we've gone through the week. Prior to that, it's been pretty stable. The blue is early in the week, yellow is late in the week, and what we see is the area of low pressure early in the week off the east will bulge with an area of high pressure here early in the week. And what that means is when we have this area of high pressure pushing or bulging off to the north, that means above normal temperatures and below normal precipitation over a pretty large area. By the end of the week, we have this area of low pressure off to the west, and that will mean that temperatures will cool up in the north and northwest U.S., but again, not a lot of change in the southeast U.S. The reason I say that is because where that jet stream is, these are storm tracks, and where these storm tracks develop show that where the heaviest rain will occur. And what we have here is over the last 30 days, the storm track has been well to the north, and that's why the Pacific Northwest, the northeast U.S., and the Great Lakes have been receiving the most rain. Typically, as we get into late October and especially November, the jet will begin to sag south and these storm tracks will also begin to come south. So far, we have not seen that, and that's why it's been so quiet over the southern part of the nation. Now, one of the models I use quite frequently, just to give you the big picture, this is a rainfall model over the next 2 weeks, and I think it shows the big trends pretty clearly. Week 1 is the top image here, and then we have below week 2. And what we see week 1 is broad areas over the southwest U.S. and the southeast U.S. with no rainfall. And matter of fact, the only place we really see significant rainfall, once again, is that Pacific Northwest. So I'm going to continue my trend alerts for those areas for dry weather in the regions here, and then above normal precip over the far northwest. Week 2 looks even quieter with most of the country very, very dry with no rain whatsoever, a very light amount of rain. So I think from a big scale, the story here as we get through the end of October, maybe even into early November, is going to be dry weather. Now, let's keep an eye on this here. Like I said, it's too early to really get too excited about it, but models are hinting that some of this tropical moisture could be lifted up north and interact with the system, weather system moving across and enhance rainfall over the far northeast part of the nation late in this period, which would be at the end of week 1 into week 2. Way too early to get too excited about this, and I will be covering this extensively in my information that I put out later this week if this trend does continue. Okay, so trends and threats. First of all, I think as far as the only threats go would be perhaps the Pacific Northwest, a very small part along the coast with 1 to 3 inches of rain. I've had that outline there. Otherwise, the trends are really going to be dry weather over the southwest U.S. and the southeast U.S. Those are going to be the main trends. Drought's going to persist in the central part of the nation. There'll be light precipitation. I don't think that's going to change that drought one way or the other. The drought in the southeast U.S. With evapotranspiration much reduced from a couple months ago, it'll be getting a little bit worse, but it'll be a very slow trend. And then over Texas and Oklahoma, light amount of rainfall, which is not going to change the drought situation too much one way or the other. It will not get worse, might get a tad better. And then just scattered light precipitation over the Great Lakes. I have highlighted in that red area. Let's just keep an eye on that. If that looks like a little bit more likely later this week, I'll cover that extensively. Right now, let's just keep that in mind that could get active late this week or the following week. So the takeaway points for today's briefing: dry pattern over a large part of the southern U.S. The Pacific Northwest remains the most active spot, and let's keep an eye on the tropics and see if that system does develop and where it might go. Thank you for listening to the Blue Water Outlook, Weekly Water Outlook. I will be issuing information throughout the week, and again, thank you for listening.